Hey everyone, it's Kyle, Azor Hype. So here's how it is. The Long Night wasn't the perfect episode. Fandom is definitely divided on it. But today, I'm here to talk about what I loved in the episode, and in my personal opinion, there's a lot to like. So we're gonna jump into the video, we're gonna get hyped, and we're gonna break it all down. So let's start off with my MVP of the episode, which was Melisandre. This was a fitting end for Melisandre, helping cap off her story arc in the most epic way. I love that in this episode, she was the embodiment of her lord channeling the Red God's power with fire and sacrifice. Now, I wasn't sure if we were going to see her return with the Fiery Hand or some Red Priests from Essos for the Battle for Dawn, but I really enjoyed the nod to the Fiery Hand when she lights the Dothraki's Arrax on fire. I also really enjoyed the scene where the Unsullied are trying to buy her more time because the archers failed to light the trenches, and the desperation in the scene and the acting from Carice was definitely awesome. But the part I liked most about this episode with Melisandre was actually Melisandre's journey, as she decided to take off her necklace that more than likely kept her alive as she decides to let the fire go out. Symbolically, I did find it interesting to see fire and ice go out in the same episode, with Melisandre and the Night King's fates being linked in episode 3. Another scene that was different that I really enjoyed was Arya's sneaking scene in the library with the Whites. Now, Miguel Sapochnik talked about how episode 3 was going to have different parts of the episode feel different, and he wanted to get this survival horror vibe throughout the episode. I think this scene is a perfect reflection of what Arya has learned. She has to be silent, she has to be quick, and she has to be calm, otherwise the dead will kill her. And there's no music, but we don't need it in this situation because the tension and the emotion is already there with the idea of Arya being in danger. The chase scene was also cool and added to the level of badassery for Arya, her getting away from the army of the dead. It definitely ramped the intensity of the episode towards the climax. Also, the slow-mo scene with Ramin Djawadi's music, the new song, reminded me a lot of the vibe of The Light of the Seven. The scene and music combination as the battle rages in Winterfell and the Night King and the White Walkers go towards Bran was definitely a nice moment. The music has a perfect amount of anticipation and build-up to when the Night King meets his end. I really enjoyed this slow motion aspect of the episode because it makes us try to absorb the information we are receiving at a different speed. With how chaotic and fast paced the episode felt, this was a nice contrast building towards the climax of killing the Night King. And we gotta give props to Ramin Djawadi, MVP. I mean, he's been such a big part of the show with his amazing music, and he just really helps amplify every scene where we hear music like this, and Ramin Djawadi has been an absolute treat. So Ramin Djawadi, let's show him some hype and love in the chat. One of the things I really enjoyed in this episode is the bravery and courage with Brienne of Tarth and Jaime Lannister. We were spoiled so much in their amazing scenes in episode 2, and with all the fighting in episode 3 and the chaos, I felt like we might not get as much action with them together in this episode, but I definitely loved how they fought as one unit as they tried to survive the onslaught of the Army of the Dead. I also like how symbolically they were the swords for House Stark in the darkness, with Jaime and Brienne fighting with Widow's Wail and Oathkeeper. We have to remember that Tywin Lannister melted down ice in the cold open to season 4, so symbolically uniting these swords to fight for House Stark and the side of the living was really awesome. I absolutely loved Daenerys Targaryen in this episode. I called it. I said, hey, she's not going to be the Mad Queen. There's still some time for her to turn it around. And she fought for the North in the realms of men in this episode. And a lot of people have been shitting on Daenerys as a character, but the way she was out there she took out a lot of the Army of the Dead, everyone. And we heard Sansa throwing shade at her in the crypts while Daenerys was out there just fighting for the side of the living. I absolutely loved that. And I thought the first 2 episodes were kind of a misdirect in trying to make us feel that Daenerys was unfit to rule. I heard a lot of people say that the dragon fight scenes were too chaotic, but I mean, it's dragons fighting in a storm. Like, they're in the air. It's gonna be chaotic. So I actually went back and watched the episode a couple times, and I really enjoyed the dragon fight scenes. And if you slow it down a little bit too, you can appreciate it more because there is a lot going on in these moments, but I definitely like the dragon fights. Also, the moon shot where Daenerys and Jon fly above the clouds, that was probably the most cinematically beautiful moment of the episode. I really love that. And there was a lot of really beautiful cinematic moments throughout the episode, but this particular shot really stood out. I also love that Dany does not play the damsel in distress and let Jorah do all the fighting. She's the blood of the dragon, and even without Drogon, she intends to fight against the Army of the Dead. And I think this is the first time we see her with a weapon and fighting like that without a dragon, so I loved her taking up the dragon glass sword and fighting beside Jorah, which brings us to Sir Jorah Mormont's death scene. You know, Jorah has been with us since the first season, and I actually really love this moment because it mirrored what Jon had to experience with the Grit during the Watchers on the Wall, episode 4, I believe episode 10 of season 4. So I definitely like them fighting together, and all Jorah ever really wanted was to be by Dany's side, and he got to prove himself in this episode in the end. You know, even though him and Lyanna died, I feel like the respect for House Mormont has just skyrocketed, right? The North remembers. So I really enjoyed Jorah's arc ending where it did, and I thought it was poetic that he was defending the person that he loved the most in Daenerys Targaryen. Lyanna Giantsbane. I absolutely loved this. The little lady bear proved that she was not all talk. She went to bat. She told Jorah in the previous episode, we gotta remember, that she would fight, and she definitely fought. I loved it. Any other little girl her age, I mean, that other girl said she was gonna defend the crypt. What a lie. Oh my god, she didn't defend the crypt very well, did she? But any other girl her age would have ran and hid at the first sign of the army of the dead climbing the walls and just running at them with no abandon. So Lyanna stood her ground, and she even yelled commands just as well as Jaime did, Grey Worm Jorah, or basically any commander. So I thought that was really badass. And her final moments are just as brilliant, in my opinion, as Lady Olenna Tyrell's, except she doesn't use her words. She just kills a giant. Like, that's really badass to me. So no words are needed in that scenario. Lyanna Mormont died a true heroine of the North, and her scene actually foreshadows Arya killing the Night King. So I loved Lady Lyanna Mormont, and I think it's incredible that Bella Ramsey was only supposed to be in one episode. She did an absolutely amazing job with her character, and yeah, I just thought that was just an amazing moment in the episode. So, Lyanna Mormont, thank you for your service to the North and the Realms of Men. You were a badass. Theon Greyjoy. Oh my god. Yeah, Alfie Allen, so underrated. Did such an amazing job as Theon Greyjoy. We'll definitely miss him on the show. His acting is incredible. He doesn't need to say anything to make us feel so emotional, but Theon's character arc has been one of the greatest in the series for sure. We watched him grow up the hard way with the Starks, and Theon didn't know how good he had it until it was all gone, right? Until he betrayed Robb. So it's crazy. We see him mutilated by Ramsay, and when he is able to snap out of being Reek, he makes it his life's work to protect Sansa and redeem himself for House Stark. And the line of Bran saying, "Theon, you're a good man," this was the time I actually cried during the episode. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm a huge Theon Greyjoy fan. I think that his arc is up there with, the Jaime Lannisters of the world, but Theon's guilt for all he's done is washed away in that moment. It's melted away, and Theon wanted to be good for House Stark, and, he charges the Night King. Wow, I mean, the transformation that we saw with Theon Greyjoy was just absolutely amazing, and what is dead may never die, right? I mean, Theon's legend is going to live on through the North for a super long time for defending Bran and the Godswood. I also really like Sansa admitting that Tyrion was the best of the Lannisters. I thought that was a small but touching moment, almost as good as Bran telling Theon, "You're a good man, thank you." This was a very touching, sweet scene, and Jon would have fought the Night King. This is one of the things that I really wanted to see, that I was upset about. I wanted to see him fight one-on-one versus the Night King, but I did really enjoy the moment where the Night King raised the dead and basically said, "Hey, F you can't get to me. Fight through all the undead. I'm going to go kill Bran." I definitely like the nod to Hardhome. They tried to make a connection to that moment. So I really definitely enjoyed the scene between Jon and the Night King, even though I wanted them to fight 1v1 and I wanted Jon to kill the Night King. So I thought that was a cool nod, getting another, connection to Hardhome. I've definitely enjoyed the episode more as I rewatched it. And I like to think that, we're getting spoiled with Game of Thrones. We've had so much good content. I think I'm going to reserve my judgment for this episode specifically, actually, until we see the next 3 episodes, because I feel like there's still going to be a big twist with Bran, definitely going to be a big twist with the Three-Eyed Raven, and I think there's more interesting things that will connect to this episode, and Miguel Sapochnik did say he sees episode 3, 4, and 5 as one episode, so I'm going to reserve my judgment for this one. It's not my favorite episode of all time, but I'm definitely enjoying it more and more as I watch it. But what do you think? Did you enjoy the episode? What were the moments that you enjoyed the most? Let me know your thoughts, your theories, and tinfoil in the comment section. A big thank you to all the patrons of the channel and all of you who are leaving awesome comments in the comment section, liking the videos, and subscribing. Really appreciate your support. If you want to see more Game of Thrones videos, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on my daily Game of Thrones videos. And I will be dropping a Cersei Lannister video on the weekend and also a Jon Snow video. All the linky goodness is in the description of this video. Thanks for watching. Hype and love.